Learning English can sometimes feel like you're lost on this huge, complicated journey with no map. But what if I told you there's a clear path forward? In this explainer, we're going to lay out a simple roadmap to take you from feeling frustrated to feeling totally confident. Does this feel familiar at all? You're sitting in a class, or maybe you're just staring at an app on your phone, and you feel, well, stuck. Overwhelmed? Trust me, you are so not alone. So many learners hit this wall where they just can't face another grammar rule. But it really doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so every good journey starts with a map, right? And the first thing you look for is that little pin that says, you are here. So our first step is figuring that out. Where are you right now with your English? Let's dive in. You've probably seen these four letters floating around, CEFR. It stands for the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. But don't let the long name scare you. The easiest way to think of it is like a universal GPS for your language skills. It's a global standard that helps everyone, from schools to employers, understand exactly where you're at. So check it out. The whole path is broken down into these 6 clear levels. The A levels, A1 and A2, that's for basic users. Then you move up to the B levels. That's when you're becoming a more independent, confident speaker. And finally, you've got the C levels for when you're super proficient, almost like a native speaker. Knowing if you're an A2 or a B1 is a game changer for setting realistic goals. All right, so now we know our starting point on the map. Let's talk about the journey itself. Now, every road has its potholes, and in English, a lot of those potholes are, you guessed it, grammar. But the good news is, once you know where they are, they're actually pretty easy to drive around. Here's a classic one, and honestly, even some native speakers get this wrong, the double negative. In English, when you say, I don't know nothing, the two negatives, don't and nothing, actually cancel each other out. It technically means you do know something. So the right way to say it is, I don't know anything. Just one negative is all you need. The word the. So small, but it causes so much confusion. So why can you say, I study in Ireland, but not I study in UK? Well, it's because UK is an abbreviation for the United Kingdom, which is a union of countries. The same goes for the USA. So if the country's name is an abbreviation or a union, you almost always need that little the in front. Okay, this is another one you hear all the time. Someone says something negative, like, I don't like fish, and your first instinct is probably to say, me too. But because you're agreeing with a negative idea, the correct response is actually me neither. It's a small change, I know, but it makes you sound so much more natural. Okay, we've dodged a few grammar potholes, but let's be real for a second. Learning a language can't just be about avoiding mistakes. If you're actually going to stick with it for the long haul, you have to find ways to make the journey fun. I absolutely love this quote because it's just so real. I mean, who hasn't been in that classroom feeling totally uninspired, just going through the motions? If you've ever felt that way, you're not tired of learning English, you're just tired of learning it in a boring way. And that feeling leads to this huge realization, this big aha moment, where you figure out that you don't have to be chained to a textbook. You can actually learn English by doing things you already love to do. Seriously, watching movies or playing video games in English isn't just about having fun. It's super effective practice. You're not just improving your listening, you're hearing how people actually speak in real life, not that stiff, formal English from old textbooks. You start to pick up on slang, you get the cultural jokes, and your ear just gets used to the natural rhythm of the language. So, we've got our map, we know about the roadblocks, and we've found some really fun ways to travel. But there's one last piece to this puzzle. And you know what? It might just be the most important part of all. And that's your mindset. So, what's the biggest roadblock of them all? Is it some crazy grammar rule we haven't talked about? Nope. According to the language experts at Kaplan, one of the top 5 mistakes learners make has nothing to do with grammar. The real barrier is simply not having enough confidence. And just think about that for a second. The fear of saying something wrong, it often stops us from saying anything at all. But the whole point is to communicate, right? Not to be perfect. Don't let the fear of making a mistake stop you from trying. Real progress only happens when you actually open your mouth and speak, mistakes and all. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Instead of aiming for perfection, what if you just aimed to participate? What's one English mistake you are willing to make tomorrow just for the sake of trying to communicate something? Because
That is where the real learning truly begins.